She-Hulk Episode 3 Ending Explained. The third episode of She-Hulk was just released, and I think it's safe to say that it was one of the more tamer episodes that we'd seen so far. As Jen even stated herself, there was an A and B story that connected together in the final third, with what looked like a setup for events to occur in episode 4 of the show when the thugs tried to battle her. So with that, I thought I'd recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from episode 3 of She-Hulk. So, let's get into it. Here is She-Hulk Episode 3 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. This episode picked up directly after the viewing of the news clip from episode 2 of the finding out that Abomination broke out of prison and battled with Wong. We saw the uproar that it caused with Jen and also the public, which was something that added to the already rising news and gossip on Jen being the She-Hulk. She was the main talking point on the news at the moment. This was to be the main story that we were going to see unfolding throughout the entirety of episode 3. This led us to see Jen go on the hunt to find a way to get in contact with Wong, so that he'd be able to back up the story that Emil was saying, that Wong gave him no other choice but to break out of prison and to be the worthy opponent that he so desired, so that he'd be able to become Sorcerer Supreme. In this moment, we saw Jen break the fourth wall before the title sequence started rolling, where we saw her mention how the show isn't built upon cameos, and said how it wasn't going to be a cameo per episode. She stated how there was Bruce in episode 1, Emil in episode 2, then Wong in episode 3, and then looked confused as she contradicted what she just said. I think this could be alluding to the fact that we could be seeing Matt Murdock next episode. I feel it's a tease for it. He's the most highly anticipated appearance in the show, and with her calling out how every episode has had one, I think it could be setting up the fact that he's going to be next. Either that or it's a warning that there won't be one next week. After the title sequence rolled, we saw just how much She-Hulk had gone viral, and quite literally taken over the world of the news and social media, with broadcasts being played from all over the globe, talking about multiple different aspects of her life. We also saw one of the core issues that it seems the show is addressing, in women facing judgment from others, which was present in the montage with the comments, stating how there should be no more women superheroes. We've seen this topic also being addressed in the workplace in episode 1 of the show by Dennis. This was then when we saw the B story start to unfold, and it involved none other than Dennis, who we last saw properly in episode 1 where he was being condescending towards Jennifer. Dennis required legal help from the Superhuman Law Division due to the fact that there was a shape-shifting light elf called Runa, who was from New Asgard and was pretending to be Megan Thee Stallion, who was a celebrity. She defrauded Dennis out of $175,000 by using her shape-shifting abilities. When Dennis was looking for a lawyer, we saw him exhibit his mindset towards women again, by stating that he didn't want a 10 out of 10 working on his case, as it could be his future fiancée, so instead he got Pug. Whilst the B story was working away in the background, with Pug getting to the bottom of what happened with Dennis, we saw Wong meet with Jen, where he stated exactly what Blonsky mentioned, about how he left him no choice in being able to leave the prison, so it all matched. It just meant that he'd have to return to the hearing for Blonsky to get parole, which it looked as though he was going to do. Blonsky was starting to look as though he was actually a changed man, but I find this all appears to be too plain sailing and obvious for this to be the case. I feel there must be something deeper going on, and he must have some wider intentions. But with Jen only referring to Blonsky as a cameo at the start of the episode, it does make me think that his involvement could well be done after this, and the retreat that he wants to set up is going to be true, as we've seen clips in the show's trailer for this exact thing. Once Wong arrived, we saw him tell the jury of the events that unfolded, and we also saw Blonsky show that he's able to turn into Abomination as and when he pleases, without it transforming him into a being that has the mindset of a monster. We saw Blonsky get granted parole, where we saw him thank Jen and show that he was truly changed. He also gave her some advice which led her to actually act on it, and this was to lean into the news broadcasts, get on the media, and be the face and voice, rather than having people spreading lies and rumors about her. Although we did see that even whilst this was happening, the interviewers didn't take her seriously, and were asking questions that had nothing to do with the serious nature of Jen as She-Hulk. As well as the Blonsky story being resolved and wrapped up, We also saw that the B story that was focused on Dennis and the shapeshifter was now on trial, and it was Jen who was actually able to save Dennis and be the contributing factor to him winning. We saw Jen, under oath, basically state everything she'd always wanted to say about Dennis, along with his attitude towards women and the types of relationships that he finds that he gets himself into. And this showed the naivety of him and that he was definitely under the impression that the shapeshifter was Megan Thee Stallion. Once the case was won, we saw Jen arrive at her home where she was ambushed by a group of thugs called the Wrecking Crew, who are known in the comics, and they claimed that they had robbed a new Asgardian construction worker, hence the type of weapons that they had. This was where we got to see the true potential of She-Hulk, and just how powerful she was. We saw that she could take most of the impact that was thrown her way, along with having skin that was essentially impenetrable. It's a side that we've not seen before. We've rarely seen her use her powers in the form of a battle, so it was good to see it actually happen. We saw that when she did defeat them, they got back in their car and said that their boss wouldn't be happy, as one of the thugs tried to inject her with something or take her blood, but her skin broke the needle. So it seems as though there was a deeper meaning to the encounter, in the sense that it wasn't just a group of people trying their luck. I think it could potentially be Titania. The final shot of the episode that we had was of Jen looking at herself in the window of the car, and I believe that it tied back to a line that she stated earlier on in the episode, where she said how all of the attention would go away once the Blonsky case was over. This was her looking at herself and realizing that she's accepting of who she now is, and that it's now her turn to paint the picture of who Jen Walters and She-Hulk is. Something she said that she previously wasn't bothered about, but she now knows that it's something that she has to take control of and allow to be part of her life. I thought the third episode was a good one. It was relatively evenly paced, and both stories that were occurring were just as interesting as each other. I'm glad the Blonsky story is wrapped up now, as it was something that I thought had the potential to get a little tiring. I imagine Jen is now going to be going on to be representing a new individual as part of the Superhuman Law Division, and we'll also be seeing a new villain entering the realm of the show. And I'm guessing this will be the individual that put the group of thugs up to inject Jen. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I'm looking forward to seeing episode 4. So, there you have it, She-Hulk episode 3 Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on She-Hulk such as endings explained, theories and predictions and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of episode 3? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.